Hello programmers. In today's class we will see what are macros in OpenOffice, how you can create a macro using macro recorder and different ways to run or call the macros. First of all, let me give you a small definition for macros. Macros is a saved sequence of commands or keystrokes that are stored for later use. Macros are especially useful to repeat a task the same way over and over again. That means you can save the sequence of command or the keystroke for later use only, and then there are tasks which we repeat or which are repeatedly used. So instead of repeating the same task, you can record the task and then you can call the macro wherever you want to repeat the task. Now, one more thing is OpenOffice.org macros are usually written in a language called Star Basic or just Basic. That means the coding or the language in which the macros are written in OpenOffice is known as Star Basic, or we simply call it as Basic only. So to explain it, I'm taking an example of students in different sheets. I'll take different students and I will calculate the 4 semester marks of 4 subjects. I'll record the calculation or the formula in one sheet, and I'm going to repeat the calculation by using macro, or I'll run the macro, and then for other students I don't need to repeat the task, I just need to call the macro and use the formula. So for this I've taken sheet 1. In sheet 1 I've taken one student, Raj. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the fields in another sheet, change the name of my student. Instead of Raj, I'll keep it as Rahul. And yeah, I'm going to change the marks also. And I'm going to copy it in another sheet for the third student. I'm going to change few marks. And one more. So this way I have taken 3 sheets for 3 different students, and in one sheet only I'm going to record the macro, and in other sheets I'm going to run the macro which I have recorded. So this way I can save my time and energy both. So for this, for starting your macros recording, go to tools menu, select macros, and then click on this record macro. When you click on the record macro, you'll get this, and this is the stop button to stop your recording. Once you have finished with recording your commands, click on this stop recording and then give name to your macros. This way you can create a new macro. Here I'll start typing the formula. I will take equal to the cell addresses, and then I will take sum of these marks of subject 1. So I've got the total in my subject 1. I'm going to copy the formula by using this fill handle. So this way I have copied the formula and I've got the total of all the 4 subjects. Once I've done this, I'll stop recording. Now here these are the library containers, and this is the name of my file. As you can see, the name of my file is untitled2 as I have not saved my file. So this is here. Now here you can create a new library. Click on new library. So the default name is library 1. I'm not going to change the name, and click on OK. Once you create your library, you'll get a module 1. Module 1 is a default module name. If you want, you can create a new module by clicking on this. This will create a new module. I want to keep it module 1 only, and in this module 1 I'm going to create my macros. Now here this is a default main macro which is always there. It's an empty macro which is automatically created by OpenOffice, and here I'm going to give the name to my macro. So here I'll give it name as result, and I'll click on save. So my macro is saved. Now I'm going to create one more macro. In this I will use to here I'll reset my this the spaces, the cell addresses. That means the total I will reset or clear it. So for this I will click here and I will go to tools, macros, and then again I will record macro. So here I'll just delete the result. This is just to delete the result. Once I've finished, I'll click on stop recording. Now here this module 1 is selected as I've created just now only. I'm going to give it a name as clear or reset. I can give it, I'll use reset, and then click on save. So I've created two macros. One is for calculating the result, another macro I've created to clear the result. So now I'll start running macro. Now to run the macro is keep the cursor where you want the result to be calculated, where you want the result. Go to tools and then macros and then run macro. When you'll click on run macro, you'll get this dialog box. Select the macro. As my macro is in untitled 2, which is the name of my file only, and I've created a new library which is library 1. There I've got module 1 and these are my macros. First of all, I want to calculate the result. So for this I'll select my macro name as result. Click on run. So this way you'll get the macro. This way you can run the macro. I'll go to another sheet for another student. Now one thing you have to remember, the cell addresses of the marks and the formula should be same only. This is the we can say a drawback of OpenOffice macro, that the cell addresses should be same. When you are running a macro, it should be same. So I've kept the same cell addresses in all the three sheets. See, I've kept the same cell addresses. Here also I'll get the result in B7. In this sheet also it is in B7, and in sheet 1 also I've recorded in B7 only. So for second sheet I'll go to this and then click on tools and then macros and then run macro, and then here I'll select my library, select module 1, and result is my macro. I'll click on run and I will get the result for second student. This way it saves our time and energy. Now we have seen that the macro selection process is a little bit slower. So for this we can use a more common technique, that means we can assign a macro to a toolbar button, this toolbar button, or we can even use a button embedded in our document here. So I'll show you both the ways here. First of all, I'll show you how to add a button to run a macro or to call a macro. For this I'll take sheet 3. I will go to view menu. In this I'll select toolbars. I will select form controls toolbar. So this is my form control toolbar. Click on this design mode. This is a toggle button. Once you click it, the design mode is on, and to make it off you have to click it again. I'll click on this design mode. This is now off. When you click on this, you'll get the different controls. Select push button, that means the push button. I'll take one button and right click this button and then click on control. Now here you'll see this dialog box. It has two tabs. One is general, another one is events. Let me tell you what are events. When something happens, we say that an event occurred. That means, for example, you can take when you open a document, when you press a key, when you move your mouse, these are all events. And OpenOffice allow events to cause a macro to be called. So macro is then called as event handler. So here I will use one of the event, which is mouse button pressed. Click on this dots. Now here mouse button pressed event is selected. Now go to macro. for assigning the macro. This is for assigning the macro. Now select the macro. I'll go to untitled 2, which is the name of my file. The library name is library1 and my module is module1. Click on this. So in this push button I'm going to assign result macro and click on OK. So after this click on OK. Now give your push button a name or a text. As it is, the push button is displayed, I want to give it a proper text, so I'll use result only. Result. If you want, you can give name to your button. I'll give it as RE and then close it. So this way, now I've added one button to assign macro. I'll take one more button to reset the result. I'll click it and drag it. The same way, right click it, go to control and then select events. Events, I'll click on mouse button pressed. Click on this mouse button pressed and then assign another macro. I'll get this macro selector, go to your file, the library and the macro. Now I will use reset macro and OK. And OK. This way, now I want to change the text also, or the label, whatever you say. I'll make it as reset. So I'll give it a name as clear and then close it. So this way I have added two buttons, one for calculating the result, another to call a macro for reset. And then once you are done with your designing part, click on this design mode off. So now you can close this. So these are the two buttons. Click on the place where you want the result and the result. So this way you can get the result, or you can call your macro. So I've called my macro with the help of this button. You can even reset these cell addresses by clicking on reset. It will clear the answer. You have to keep the cursor and then click reset. So this is the way you can call your macro by using a button. Now we will see how you can call a macro by using toolbar. Now to add a toolbar to call your macro, I'll select sheet 2 only. Here I will first go to view, click on the toolbars option. Now this toolbars will display all the toolbar. Now if you want to customize your toolbar, click on customize. As I want to customize it, so I'll go to customize. Now this customize dialog will have 4 tabs. One is for menus, keyboard, toolbars and events. And as I'm going to add a toolbar icon to call a macro, so I'll select this toolbar tab. Now in this toolbar, select the toolbar in which you want to add your macro. So I'm going to add my macro in this standard toolbar only, so I can select it from the drop down. Now here, after selecting the toolbar, click on this add button as I want to add my macro. Now this will give you add commands. Now select the category. I will select OpenOffice macros, and then this is my file name untitled 2. This is my library which I have created, and this is the module 1. Now this I will use a result. I'm going to add a result macro in that toolbar. Click on the macro name which you want to add and then click on add. After this you can close it and OK. Now as you can see in this standard toolbar, I've got the name of my macro here. So for executing it, I'll just clear this. I will clear it manually only, and then you can click on result. First of all, place the cursor and then click on result. So this way you can call the macro by using a toolbar icon also, and by using buttons also. Best part of using the toolbar icon is this toolbar icon will be available in all the sheets of my workbook. You can see it in sheet 1 also, it is there, result is there. Sheet 2 also you can see this, sheet 3 also, or so that means it is available for all the worksheets of your workbook. Click on result and you'll get the macro run. So This way you can create a macro using macro recorder. In our next class we'll see how we can use macro as a function. But before this, this I'll show it in our next class only, how we can use macro as a function. But I want to show you the coding behind this. That means how we can view and edit the macro. So how these are internally stored. Click on the tools only, select macro, and then you can select organize macros, and then select a language. There are so many language given: Python, Basic. So as it is written in OpenOffice Basic, I'll click on OpenOffice Basic only. Select the macro for which the module. For example, I'm taking module 1, and then select any of your macro. For example, I'll click on reset only. I'll select reset macro, and then you can click on edit. So this way you can go to OpenOffice Basic. This is the basic language. Now as I told you, this there's a main module, there's a main macro which is already there. It's a default macro. This is an empty macro which is created by OpenOffice only, and this is the subroutine for my result macro. And when you scroll it down, here ends the subroutine for result and starts a subroutine for reset, and then end of that reset subroutine. Now what are subroutine, how to write function, that we'll see in our next class. I hope you understood this. We'll meet in next class only.